What's good, people? Welcome back to my Immigrant Diary, the podcast where we talk real immigration stories, the wins, the struggles, the confusions, and the glow ups. My name is Precious.
My name is Wale.
All right, then. Wally, today we have so many stories, so many amazing, interesting, and intriguing stories to talk about. And I can't wait to jump right into it. But first, how you doing?
Doing great. It's been getting a little bit warmer here, so I'm grateful for that. Interestingly, we did have snow sometime last week, which
Finally.
was just very interesting. It should have been like that in January, but I don't think we had any snow in January. That's kind of how Washington is. As you know, the United States is at war with Iran, which is affecting oil prices, and that would definitely also eventually affect like other commodity prices. So right now, I've been stingy with spending. So that's kind of like the plan for me. The war is not here, but it's definitely affecting. It's going to affect us eventually.
It is affecting everyone. Gas prices have gone up by over $1 from 2 weeks ago. So it's gone up. That's the most right now. This is the most I've paid since I've been living in the US for gas. For the first time I saw my meter eating over $45 for my gas. But interestingly, let's start off with something inspiring. Let's start off with that. I don't know if you've heard about the young immigrant lady called Del Rocio. She has a classic story of started from the bottom, so to speak, started from the bottom story. She moved from Philippines to the US when she was just 9 years old. Fast forward to today, she's the CEO of a multi-million dollar aerospace and defense firm. It's incredible because the defense sector is one of the hardest industries to break into, especially for an immigrant, due to the requirement for security clearance. How she be doing and how she done it? It's just an inspiring story to share.
I did see the article, and it's definitely inspiring. It's one of those stories that, as an immigrant, you look at and you think to yourself that this is something that is doable. Success is something that is doable in the United States of America. So there hasn't been, apart from, I would say, aside from the famous immigrants that we know of, folks like Elon Musk, I don't think there's any other immigrant stories that we've heard about lately, and that success stories rather that we've heard about lately. And I know that on our podcast we do talk about a lot of challenges and some good news, but not a success story like this. So she for all kinds of industries, including the defense industry. So, and if you understand the use of metals, especially in defense, they're used everywhere in ammunitions, in buildings, in tools, in vehicles, in flying objects. They're used everywhere. So metals are very, very important to the military. I think the major problem is that she needs to be a citizen to be able to work with the military, especially when it comes to sensitive things like this in the United States. So it's definitely would have been extremely challenging, but eventually she was able to overcome that challenge, and eventually she became a citizen.
I also saw a very pretty old story about Jamie De Rosso, was Rosario, where she was selected as one of 100 entrepreneurs by a company called Mass One, who had a design at the time, an ambition at the time to send entrepreneurs to go and set up shop on Mars in space. She was selected as one of the 100 entrepreneur. I'm not sure. I didn't see any recent story about that, if that ever happened, but this was like when she was 26 years old. And, fast forward now, she's 36. It just shows you how much she has been doing as at the time she was 26, as in probably before 26, for her to have been selected as one of the entrepreneurs for, for that expedition. But the interesting thing I see here is just the fact that there's so many inspiring immigrants, out there in the US who are doing amazing work, amazing entrepreneurs. I know even the statistics show that about 18% of entrepreneurs here in America are immigrants. this lady has shown that it is possible to really break bounds and get to extents that you could never have imagined as an immigrant living in America. So kudos to her and to all the wonderful work she's been doing and she continues to do. Moving on, Wally, Malta is trending. Malta is in the Mediterranean part of Europe, and they are creating great opportunities for immigrant students who want to go to Malta to study. While Canada and UK are kind of tightening their visa rules for international students, Malta is offering a blend of British standard education and affordability. So if you're looking at Malta, please go check the description of this video and you'll find information of how you can take advantage of the offering for Malta as an international student. They're offering scholarship and also they are offering very cheap and affordable, entry into their university, like the University of Malta. Wale, I know you've lived in Europe for many years. What's your view of this?
It's always fantastic to be able to hear about news like this. They are providing scholarship for tertiary education. You have a program that you have already applied to, you're already attending, and then you can go through the programs. And after you go through, I think 1 year or is it one semester, you can apply for payments for some payments for the things you have already spent money on. It also depends on the course. I think for some courses you get like 80 something dollars per week or something like that, or per month. And then for other courses you get a little bit more, depends on what the needs are in Malta. So but generally for STEM courses you get a lot you get higher payments. So that's generally the way it works. But you do have to make that initial upfront investment. So you make the payment and then after the year you get some refund back. And then that means that technically speaking, you can only pay, it's possible for you to focus on paying for just the first year. And then every other year you don't have to pay for, which means that if you pay for the first year, you get your money back. And then you use that money to pay for the second year, you get it back again, you use that money to pay for the next year. Technically speaking, it's possible, but I'm not aware if it covers 100%. Something you should look into, but there's definitely some availability for everyone. So for countries where the income is not as high as Western countries, this is a very big deal. I encourage you to check out the link and see how you can apply for these fantastic opportunities. It's wonderful. I welcome it. Malta is it's pretty cool. If you're in Malta, that means you can visit any other EU country. And so while you're there, you also have opportunity to explore the whole 27 EU nations.
While Malta is an open door, the fake acceptance letter scandal is blowing up in Canada. Over 14,000 students were recently caught with fraudulent letters this month. This is tragic, Wally. Now, you would think that you're heading to a bright future, but an agent sells you a lie and you find yourself at the airport facing deportation. Wally, this is tragic.
This is painful. I can't imagine what the students are going through. I read the article, did an initial investigation into 3,000 into students, I think for 2025, and they found that there were 3,000 students that had these fake letters, and then that prompted the Canadian authorities to investigate more into the issue, and they found a total of over 14,000 students actually
That is
that
wild.
have fake letters. What is this kind of, it's just so evil that a agency would exist to defraud people on that scale. Obviously, they've gotten away with it for so long. This affected mostly Indian students. A lot of Indian students, they are thinking they will go to this agency, reputable agencies. They'll be able to work on admissions for a lot of people. I'm going to go apply through them, and hopefully I'll be able to get my own admission letter. So this is so sad. I hope the perpetrators are arrested and jailed. This cannot stand. We need robust immigration systems, and we need students to be able to trust that systems that exist is a real system. It's not a fake one like this.
All right then, Wally. Moving on. Now we need to talk about people making it hard for everyone else. The Savannah brothers, named Baska and Aaron. This story is wild, Wally. So these two brothers ran a visa fraud scheme that was essentially a criminal empire. They weren't just bending the rules, man. They were breaking them on a multi-million dollar scale. They were facing, guess this, over 400 years in prison. 400 years. This is a loud message from the Department of Justice. Honestly. The Department of Justice, they just wanted to send a message. This is ridiculous. Yeah,
But I
400
can
years.
imagine how it got to 400, but I think it's a count for every fraud they've committed. So
Absolutely.
like, you can imagine if it's a 10-year, if it's, let's say 10 years, or even let's say it's 5 years, if it's 5 years for counts, that means they must have evidence for 80 of those cases. Times 80 by 5, you get 400 years. So they are facing, that's the maximum they can face.
So this is where this just always blows my mind. Like all the millions, the money that they made from scam, they would not live to enjoy that money. They will never.
Exactly. This is the kind of justice that is working right.
I would agree with you because do you know how many people they've set back in their lives as a result of this scheme? Because sometimes it's so easy to sometimes forget the impact, direct impact. This is not even an indirect because you just don't know the person directly or the people directly that have been affected by this scam. Just imagine how these guys have just destroyed lives. There are people who have committed suicide out of difficulties brought upon them by scam. So
Yeah.
we don't even know the story of the counts of people that they've scammed to this point that they are millionaires from that. This is just sad and very upsetting to think about the impact. Because it's so easy sometimes to look at the criminals or to look at the scammers, look at these brothers and listen to the story and forget the fact that there are people behind it. Like the stories are people's hard earned money, because when anyone, especially for immigrants, there are a lot of immigrants who are moving and are literally selling everything they have or
Yeah.
finding ways to raise money. Some even take loan just so that they can achieve this cross over and also maybe build a life for themselves. They're just in the search of greener pasture. And
Yeah.
someone is just on the other side, just scheming just to scam them. And for people to be millionaires on that, then you can imagine the volume of people that they have scammed. It's just so upsetting to think about the impact. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
that is not all. In Boston,
Hold on. I just want to say one more thing. What about this case? One of the weird things that I found in the report is that I'm going to read it now. That they actually conspired to place prototype dental implants not cleared by the FDA in human patients without their consent. Why?
wow.
That doesn't make sense to me. I'm trying to think, how does that make sense? You've been scamming people so much to the extent that now you want to pretend you're a doctor or what? Or you're a medical professional?
That is ridiculous.
I don't understand it. Like, why? That's what came to my mind. So it looks like the way it looks like is that they've been evolving. First, they've gotten very comfortable with the H-1B visa scams. Now, I'm looking at the article. They also committed a lot of Medicaid fraud of over $30 million. And now it looks like
Wow.
they are just trying to scam as much as possible. And now they are doing this medical related scam also. It just doesn't make
400
sense.
years is not enough.
I'm telling you.
Yes,
I'm telling
guys,
you.
ridiculous.
I'm very happy they are off the streets and they will definitely, hopefully, justice. They are facing 400 years. They have not been sentenced yet, but I'm hoping they do get the maximum.
Yeah, they will definitely, because at this rate, it's ridiculous. But in Boston, a group of Indian nationals were arrested for faking robberies, Wally. Robberies. Faking robberies to get a visa. Now, this is interesting. I didn't know about this, Wally, until I read this story. So, they will stage a violent crime at a convenience store so that the clerk could apply for the U visa, which is reserved for victims of mental or physical abuse who have helped law enforcement. Wally, I never knew about U visa until I read this story. It is interesting that the US have a visa category like this. And I can understand it to a
Yeah.
large extent, right? To kind of support people who have been victim of mental, abuse, who have been victim of forced labor, who have been victim of kidnapping, to just some kind of hideous and, kind of deep evil crime, just so that they can have a pathway to be able to live and get work permit to work in the US and eventually apply to get permanent residency. But the limitation is only 10,000 per year. Because of people like this that come up with fake or come up with scheme to try and qualify for this visa, I can guarantee you that has contributed to the backlog today. Because as of today, they have backlog of up to 5 years of
Oh,
wait.
wow.
I'm telling you, while I did the research that the US have backlog for this category for up to 10 years because they only have 10,000 visas per year. And so I am almost certain that there are more people coming up with this kind of scam to kind of qualify to apply for this visa. And that brings me to an experience I had, Wale. I remember I once met this guy right in front of one of the major hospitals here in Baltimore. And he was telling me his wild story that just seemed very similar to this. How he works in a convenience store at a gas station and how he reported a crime that he witnessed in front of the store and by a group of young boys, and they came at the time of his closing and they attacked him in front of his car.
Mm,
And so they attacked him, he became unconscious. Eyewitness called 911, came, they picked him up, and they took him to the hospital and he's working with the police. So I just remember I hate that story. I just found it very strange. I didn't understand what kind of strange situation, is this, and he needed help. He was asking me, wanted me to, help him with some money. He didn't need money from me. He wanted to transfer. He didn't have his ATM card. He took his wallet. So he was trying to ask me for assistance where he can send money to me. I can cash it and give it to him. And, and now that I'm looking back, I'm like, be careful with your help on the streets.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's one of the biggest challenges with this is that it makes it a lot more difficult to help people in situations like that. So it makes it very challenging to start believing people like this. But I've heard about these kind of situations like this. Unfortunately, gas station convenience robberies is very common in the
Very
United
common,
States.
yeah.
So that's exactly what they took advantage of because it's everywhere. But what they don't understand is that like when this pattern starts, when this thing starts to happen, especially to immigrants, it starts to raise questions in law enforcement mind that why is it that if you check the percentage of, let's say there are like 10% immigrant living in a community, 90% citizens, and then 50% of the crime is happening to the 10%. It doesn't make sense at all. so,
Yeah, it begs
so
the
you're going
question.
to be wondering, so what's going on here? You look further into it to figure out if there's any sort of foul play. So they've gotten away with it for so long. So now it's time for them to actually pay the price.
Yeah, Wally. So while some are faking victimhood, the system is failing real victims. There's a heartbreaking report on NBC about special immigrant juvenile status. I don't know if you've heard about that status. These are kids who were either abused, abandoned, or neglected. They are legally eligible for green card, but because of the backlog currently, they are being detained and deported before their paperwork is even processed. Why this is heartbreaking is because these kids have been moved or have left their country of origin, have been brought to the US as kids, right? And the idea is to kind of give them protected status so they can apply, work and qualify to get a green card and, graduate and eventually become US citizen because they came into US as kids. Not identical to DACA, but in this case for kids who are at risk.
I think with DACA is just that yes, they came in as a young
Yeah,
child
as
and
a
now have
child.
DACA protection. But this one, they have actually gone through some sort of trauma in the event, in this case where it's abuse or something like that, that actually affects their whether it's their physical or mental health. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's challenging. A lot of immigration enforcement. It's very it can be very emotional for a lot of people, but we'll leave a link down below. Please go and read it.
All right, then. And on the security side, we have the Old Dominion University terrorist attack, which recently happened, and it's quite sad and unfortunate that this individual, who is an immigrant from a naturalized U.S. citizen, originally from Sierra Leone, was also, you know, who was a former active, I think, U.S. Marine. I'm not certain, but was in the U.S. military, and
Mhm.
who was previously arrested for trying to provide information to ISIS, and now have now gone and opened fire and conducted a form of terror attack on students who are students of the ODU, Old Dominion University. This story was is very heartbreaking, and the US is considering a terrorist attack. And although the student subdued him and he was killed, but this kind of thing just makes it difficult for everybody, difficult for everyone living around. And this happened in Virginia, so it's just a very sad and very upsetting story. And especially given the fact that the US are at war with Iran, and security is of paramount concern right now. To have someone who was formerly in the military to do something like this is just very heartbreaking.
Yes, it definitely is. My heart goes out to, I think it was a captain that died during the incident. I pray for his family, and hopefully they're able to find strength in these trying times. Like you said, like, this kind of attack, it's something that makes it very, very challenging for everyone, especially in the immigrant community. And this person does not care about immigrants, or does not care about Americans, does not care about anything. Just wanted to commit an act of terror. So I don't understand. Again, this is one of those things I personally do not understand why people would, especially someone from Africa, someone who has been living in the United States for so long, put they are so radicalized to that point that they will start murdering other people just because they disagree with something that is going on thousands of miles away. I'm grateful for the students, the military students who were able to subdue him. We need a lot more strong people like that, and we are very grateful that we have them in the United States. And we really hope that things like this can really be prevented early on. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm keeping my eyes peeled. Will not hesitate to call 911. Please, if you see something that is strange, that is out of place somewhere, don't hesitate to call 911.
All right, thank you, Ali. I mean, we've covered a lot today, from the height of aerospace success to 400-year prison sentence. Wally, what would you say is the takeaway for our listeners today?
There is a lot that's going on in the world. For us, we try to condense the information, the many information, into something that we believe you are going to find useful. The things that we have been trying to do so far is to bring value to you, and we hope you do find value in what we've spoken about today.
All right, Wally, thank you. And also, thank you for joining us on my Immigrant Diary today. Please stay tuned, like and subscribe to our channel.
Yes, like and subscribe.
All right, then. See you. Bye now.
All right. Bye.